Hi everyone, I'm Russell Leigh, and I founded Milo with my brother, Dr. Lawrence Leigh. We are innovating medical diagnostics by enabling lab tests to be performed anytime and anywhere for the first time. So 80,000 Americans died of flu last season. Just this last Sunday morning, my son woke me up. He had a high fever, and 30 hours later, just before I flew out here on Monday, he was diagnosed with flu B. That's the problem with lab diagnostics. They're inefficient for clinical and economic reasons. Even for chronic care patients, they have to visit the lab for the most routine types of tests. When you visit the lab, it's normally when you're sick, and there's not a lot of options to check general wellness, to improve health outcomes by behavioral change, and avoid expensive, I think I'm reverberating, and avoid expensive hospital visits. With very little options for point of care, it's difficult to monitor the globalization of infectious diseases, and the relationship between your doctor is intermediated by a referral to a lab in most circumstances. Labs are inconvenient, they're slow, they're expensive, and they have such a human component that our biggest competitor, LabCorp, boasts that they drive from the Earth to the sun each year, collecting your blood from those little metal boxes sitting outside the doctor's office, boiling in the sun. No wonder our cholesterol test has a better standard deviation than theirs. So there's a reference there to George Washington. Does anyone get it? Well, this is the story. What we knew about my son's 30 hours is that we suspected it to be flu B because there had been an outbreak at his school, and he knew we suspected that. But what we didn't know is that the kid in grade 2 had done a George Washington project, and he understood that George Washington died of flu B. So when he got his diagnosis, he said to us, "Dad, am I going to die?" We said, "Dude, you're fine," and he is fine. Okay? But for those 30 hours, it highlights the inefficiency. So when we started talking about lab tests anywhere and point of care, our paths crossed with Kira and NASA iTech. And when my brother and I started looking at these two brothers, and especially what 330 days did to Scott Kelly in space, we were alarmed. We understood why NASA iTech was such a great supporter of us, such a great motivator for us, because the compromised immune systems in space was resulting in a whole host of viruses being detected in their blood. The zero gravity was resulting in bone degradation, the release of minerals, creating metabolic issues, and kidney stones, for example. So we understood exactly what NASA was about, and this improved our product. When we started thinking about how we can work on frontiers, on space and on Earth, where forces of physics and nature exert so much pressure on us, on the underserved, or on astronauts, we ended up building a better project. And that's what NASA is about. They set these impossible goals for us, and these possible goals of going to Mars and back, and ask us to solve these problems. And by solving these problems, these little problems, we can solve that 30-hour gap in diagnostics to 4 minutes. And this is how we're going to do it.
Milo introduces lab tests anytime and anywhere for the first time. With RapidResult synced to the Milo app in minutes. Monitor chronic diseases like diabetes and high cholesterol, as well as over 100 diagnostic tests ranging from infectious diseases to cancer markers. In your home, in the ambulance, or doctor's office, Milo's RapidResult lab tests are going to be available everywhere in America and Europe starting now.
So yeah, we have over 100 diagnostic chemistries, FDA cleared, everything from most chronic diseases like thyroid, high cholesterol, and diabetes, which we've been able to innovate, to cancer markers, infectious diseases, things like PSA. All on a stick like these for vertical flow, or like this for lateral flow, which costs $1 or 50 cents. So that's the first part of our product. We're not just chemistry, and we're not just these smart strips. We're also a suite of devices, one for lateral and one for vertical flow, that are smart for immunological and enzymatic type assays. And the product extends from the strips and the devices to a smart ecosystem, which includes a companion app with a patent-pending ecosystem that will intelligently decide whether your result needs to be shared with a doctor. It will track, trend, and archive results. And then we have a care provider system, which is connectivity to your EMR for doctors to receive those results. We've created a population health system with embedded HRAs on a CDC algorithm so that we can provide an ecosystem to self-funded employers. When we show those clients the ability to do vital screenings from our devices with a live sync into population health, they say, wow, how cool is that? And I think that is really cool. And then we went further. We embedded an SDK from one of the largest telemedicine companies in America, which will enable you to buy a professional usage Class 3 diagnostic over the counter at CVS, self-perform it at home, and then share it with your doctor. So that's our ecosystem. Richard Godwin spoke about culture of a product. So we wanted you to understand we needed to make it so easy for everyone, how it works. So we did focus group on whether people are willing to prick their fingers before we even decided to dig deep into this, because we know that's an issue. I promise you it's not daunting. In fact, it becomes gaming when you can prick your finger often during the day and check what's going on with yourself. So it really is that simple. We need you to prick your finger, drop it your blood, or it's urine or saliva. You insert it into the device. Depending on what we're looking at, from seconds to 4 minutes for cholesterol, for this 2-panel cholesterol test, we have a result which is transmitted to the cell phone companion app, then to your providers if you wanted to, and doctors. The market opportunity is obviously significant. 13 billion tests were performed in America in 250,000 labs last year. It's in excess of $100 billion. 41 million CBC tests were performed. Point of care is a very small amount. It's less than $20 billion worth, and it's mainly diabetes and family planning, but the future is beyond that. 75% of healthcare costs, representing $2.4 trillion in the US, is chronic. And diabetes and high cholesterol are products we monitor really well. This is a product for use in the EMTs. We have a cardiac marker test. We indicate whether you're going to have a heart attack or you've just had one, which you live sync to a physician and the doctor in the hospital. It's used for the doctor's office, so he doesn't have to refer you to a lab. You can get a service. And used for at home for general wellness. Because we don't have a display on our device, it means that all the data is in your cell phone app and in the cloud. So imagine everyone testing themselves. We have this health map pinging with results everywhere. It's HIPAA and DPD compliant, and we have an API with Athena Health, so where we can place our data. We created a Milo API, which will allow developers to go and create apps with our devices. And if there's anyone out there looking for it, we're really interested in guys going out and creating amazing apps for us. We also have an SDK, so you can connect to our devices with your own apps. And one more thing, we are connected to Apple HealthKit, which means that you can share your result to Apple HealthKit, and other developers can then access that data from Apple Health. So if chemistry, electronics, and systems is not our best asset, I think go-to-market is our best asset. Because when we went to our razor blade manufacturer, the guys who make these strips, they said to us, you're in the good place here, because we manufacture and distribute 3,800 SKUs, 180 in Walgreens, CVS, and Target. And we said, okay, that's fine. We're worried about big box pharmacy. We want professional adoption. They said, okay, fine, we'll bring you into physician supply companies, and we're not going to get CVS to give you shelf space. We're going to get them to use it in their minute labs. So that's on our top chain. To get professional adoption, again, we were part of an accelerator for an insurance company, and we have telemedicine. With the telemedicine, we have an online store with them, and we'll create our own online store on the web in the future. The competition is really traditional labs and OTC. We have a patent-pending ecosystem, FDA-approved products, and a large manufacturer. We're going to the market soon, and a great team. The current product base we have at the moment and the ARC fits what the insurers need and our self-funded clients need. So it starts off with things like glucose, cholesterol, blood pressure, which we have a monitor for that, and arcs out into more chronic things like thyroid, hormonal issues, cardiovascular. And then we have a few special projects like CBC, sex selection test we have, and other tests, basic metabolic panels. So I'll go more into my team a little bit later at the impact tables, but it's basically my brother and I are the founders. We have a great executive team of physicians and biochemists and pharmacists working with us. NASA iTech was really important for us, and as I said, has evolved our product to where it should be today. American Well has 100 million Americans who have access to their system, and they're our telemedicine partner who are creating their online clinic on their store. We are part of the Generali Accelerator that chose us as one of 4 companies to represent the future of health and welfare, and we are building a product base for their Orwellian Connected Health division. PL Developments is our manufacturer. They're a $600 million private label drug manufacturer based in Westbury, New York. Their plant was featured in the one Jason Bourne movie to show a high-tech, modern production facility for drugs. And Connect Healthcare Collaboration is our locked-in broker, self-funded employer client, who we build in systems and ecosystems for the self-funded employers. We think we're going to bring a systematic change to healthcare, advancing clinical and economic efficiencies of patient care into the connected age. We are doing a small round now, a small seed round, and we can have a discussion about that with you guys personally in our impact tables. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you to Kira for supporting us along the way. Questions?
Is this on? Hello, hello. Testing.
Hi, Richard.
Yes. Hi there. I have so many questions, I can't even begin. First, how much have you raised already? Where do I get good, solid third-party validation? And have you found that the Theranos thing has caused you problems in terms of believability?
Yeah, so I'll answer backwards. Okay? So Theranos, we never set out, people will ask us about Theranos, and that's how it's affected us is that we're really in stealth. You know, coming here today was because of our relationship with Kira and how it changed our evolution of our product. But we don't really want to tell people about it until we put it into their hands, because we know Theranos spent many years saying this is coming. And we know it's deliverable really soon. It's really about manufacturing the plastics now, because we've designed it very intelligently. So Indiegogo came to us and said, do you want to put it up? We said we can't because of Theranos. We'll go on Indiegogo when it's deliverable in 2 days, and we might do something with them. So that's how Theranos is. And people say, well, how good is your validation? So this cholesterol test does have a better standard deviation with most labs. We've decided we're only going to release a test when we distribute. It gets manufactured, and then it goes for QC in the lab. Results are generated for the 510K to validate that, and then it gets shipped. So we decided we're going to go with when we're doing quantitation. So this will indicate 180 total cholesterol, 40 HDL. When we're going for quantitation, we need a better standard deviation than what the labs do. When we're going for semi-quantitation, there is some glucose in your urine. We don't know how much it is, but we need at least a result which is close to what's been in the lab, 99% accuracy or 98% accuracy. So that's the effect of it. The question of technology is very different. We're self-funded at the moment. My brother and I have decent cash flow. My brother, he went to Harvard. He was a radiologist. He has 12 clinics around South Florida. He has 600 people working for him. And we've done this very, very leanly. It's about $500,000 we put into it so far. Okay? We're doing a really small raise now. And we have the ability and the cash flow to take it to the end, to deliver. So we were really looking for people who work with us. The chemistry is really good and offer us something strategically. Is that it? Yeah. Anything else?
I just had a question. Can you talk a little bit about clinical trials?
Yeah, so obviously what happened was, let me go back here. So on the bottom right is a guy named Jack Aronovitz. Jack has participated in 300 FDA trials over a number of years. And Jack is 79 years old. He pretty much the father of IV Diagnostics. And I met with him, and he talks to no end, Jack. And I spent about 1,000 hours working with him. And he had the FDA-approved chemistry for these hundreds of tests there. And each one has a package insert which defines what the trial looks like and the accuracy and the standard deviation, blah, blah, blah. So each product is unique. And then it's also validated by once we manufacture. Part of the process with NASA is we changed our architecture of the system. We made these smart, the strips. So when you insert it into the device, lab tests need to be recalibrated all the time. So when you insert it into the device is smart, and it will identify which production run of the strip with which production run of the device. And there's a QC process done there. There's a lookup table embedded in the device, and the device will use that lookup table. So this process with NASA, we intended to go to the market with like a home pregnancy test, that each device was going to be only that test. And it would run out of battery, then you throw it away. And we made the device long-term. That will calibrate itself when it needs to a production run of strips based on the QC of the lab, okay? So each test has its own package insert. That's the short answer.
Russell,
Yeah.
are you doing any real-time testing for STDs or HIV or anything along those lines?
Oh yeah, we have, it's in that big panel. We have a huge panel for STDs. We're working on a really good solution because there's about 7 tests for STDs. So we've got it down to one prick of finger, 2 drops, and urine. So we get the 7 as like herpes, and we get all the herpes. So it's whether you've had the infection or whether you currently have have it as well. And HIV, yeah, we got a great test for HIV. It's 100% accurate. DuPont spent $20 million developing this HIV test and then decided they didn't want to do a clinical trial, and they gave it to us. It's 100% accurate. 0 false positives, 0 false negatives. In 30 seconds with 20 microliters of blood, it will give you a result if you're aggressive HIV and 2 minutes if you're not aggressive. So, yeah. So, in the channels we're looking small now at self-funded employers, but there's NGOs, there's a myriad of opportunities. And each product has its own business unit, its own track. And drugs of abuse, by the way. We're good on drugs of abuse. Hi.
Is this on? Yep, okay. So I'm like Richard, I have many questions myself.
Yeah.
But one is probably just a simple question, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a great presentation, great idea, but one, why has no one done this before?
Yeah.
What have been the challenges that other people have faced? Because I feel like I've maybe heard about this many years ago. But then 2, can you talk and elaborate further on your distribution strategy, right?
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about the CVS, the big boxes, but then going
Yeah.
to the doctor. Can you elaborate more on that? And then third one is also your relationship with Apple. If there's one, or if it's just you're developing an app and that's been accepted into the health kit. Just a few for you.
Yeah, when we have 0 relationship with Apple, apart from the fact that anyone who wants to develop an app goes through a process, and there's a protocol to make it health kit enabled. There's a process for you to put on your box made for Apple, made for iPod and iPhone, iPad and iPhone, I guess iPod, and that's it. Yes, we do have the ability to connect to Apple, but again, this is something we want to tell people about it when we can put it in their hand. Why haven't other people done it? I guess it's a big thing in terms of large corporations like Abbott. They want to do something like this, they'll spend $40 million considering it. Why didn't Jack do it? You know, technology just wasn't there with him. I think he was intending to do it. In fact, when I met him, he had built a digital device for this. And they had taken that to CVS, and CVS says, well, we wanted 800,000 of these to start off with a digital, and it had zero clinical efficacy. So I said to Jack, what happened was I had built a smart ecosystem for believe it or not, a home monitoring system. And I said to Jack, well, I've got this ecosystem which I can add to your digital device. We can take the display off, and this is what it will do to it. It will give your digital device clinical efficacy. Because when you sell a digital device at CVS, they have to say, yeah, it's accurate, it's better standard deviation in labs, it's really great, but if you don't like the result you see, go to the doctor, and the doctor is going to then send you to his lab. With our system, because it syncs to the doctor, there's an ROI model for him to punch it into your EMR, bill you for the consultation, and because you're doing the test and it's live syncing to him. So that brings clinical efficacy to this test. So that's, you know, it's really just how I think most things are happening. It's opportunistic, it's integration, it's the right time at the right place. And, you know, people also our competitors are all very single track. There's someone who's building one test for this or one test for that. But the diagnostic chemistry is there. It's very integration level technology, okay? We've been able to apply for the patents because, you know, we've done something a little bit new, but that's it, okay?
Question for you.
Yeah.
So I want to know what you believe your greatest technological challenge is for your end, and then I'm going to ask a second question as a follow-up.
Yeah. My biggest tech challenge is getting very clever scientists, pharmacists and biochemists who really respect each other to agree on a certain track. And sometimes, I mean, it's really not a big thing. As I said, it's very integration level technology. When we want a new product, it's because suddenly a new antibody becomes available, like coagulation. So a pharmacist came back to me the other day. He says, you know, we can do a coagulation test. I said, great, write it up. And, you know, we'll bring it, we'll develop it, even if there's no market. We won't do a market assessment for it. So, it's, you know, that's it. You know, we're doing, it's integration. We're doing what's available. Next question.
So I guess one of the big challenges I see isn't on your end of the device. It's really the privacy and security on the back end.
Sure.
And things like that, and making sure it's handled very securely.
Yeah.
So how are you addressing that?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's certain tracks depending on how you get the test. I can go over the counter, do a test, and log into the system anonymously. In certain circumstances, the device, the app, won't allow you to see the test because it's a professional usage class 3 diagnostic, unless you share with a doctor. So when you can go to American Well and you can through our system and you share it with them and you get the report back, but then you break the anonymity. But it is HIPAA compliant, and you know, being a startup, we're given $120,000 credit from IBM, and we think, you know, it's secure and it's HIPAA compliant, and that's it. And it's your choice, really, what you do with your tests. You don't have to share with the doctor. It's only when you're, you know, when it's a test that needs to be. Okay.
What is your intellectual property portfolio comprised of? Okay,
yes, so I ran through that slide very quickly. We filed a patent application for the smart ecosystem, which is basically extends from the chip on the device to the way we intelligently decide whether it needs to be seen by a doctor or whether you can see it, that process, or that invention. And then are the two devices, one for vertical flow and one for lateral flow, reflective photometry, which is also integration. It's basically a version of ELISA. ELISA is the system that's done in, when you send your blood in a vial to a lab, they'll drop it in a few tubes and stick it into a system called ELISA. And what we have is a micro version of that ELISA system. And we filed those 2 patents. The other issue of intellectual property is that some of the tests, like vitamin D, is actually under patent. And we have a license to that. And then also some of them, the tests require an FDA trial, and we've participated in those trials, so the chemistry is cleared. Okay.
So it strikes me that the business model for you, because this is a crowded marketplace,
Yeah.
I know that. Is it first to scale as opposed to first to market, do you think?
Well, it's first to market. In the end, we're a razor blade business. I think, we're first to market. We're going to be big and we're going to scale, and that's because we have a manufacturer and a partner who manufactures the chemistry, who's licensed to it, who is so big and has the ability to put it in everywhere. I think our patent from our attorneys should protect that process of enabling a lab test to be performed outside a lab, because the FDA says a lab test needs to be performed in a lab because we need to check whether you can perform the test, and also whether a medical professional needs to see the test before you do in certain tests. So we think that patent protects that process. So my team talks to me about competitors all the time, and I say they're not competitors, those are channels. A competitor is someone who's using our patent application, who's infringing on what we think we're going to get from our patents. And if someone wants to bring a class 3 diagnostic, a professional usage lab diagnostic, and offer it to you over the counter, you can perform it at home, I don't know how they're not going to infringe our patents. Okay?
Have you considered, I don't think we have a mic that works.
Yeah.
Have you considered earth-based environmental conditions where this may not work as well, such as, that one works, such as the field where a warfighter may be under either very hot conditions, dusty conditions, cold, high humidity, those kinds of things. And then likewise, from a NASA perspective in use in microgravity sorts of conditions. Any understanding of the validity of this approach?
Well, in the first instance, we did make the device so that it will work offline, but does need a companion device, a companion app that has no display. The other thing is, we've only made it work to put it on the shelf anywhere. There's a lot of data on how long the chemistry can last. This one lasts for 900 months, so it will get to Mars and back.
But even under those kinds of conditions?
In terms of zero gravity and drug and blood draw, we haven't really looked at that yet in zero gravity. That's something that, once we start actually making the product for NASA, we'd have to understand what the process is for that. To get it on the shelves of CVS, it has to go, or any big box pharmacy chain, that goes through an environmental check for battery. We had a battery issue on or PLD did have on another project. So yeah, that is all tested in terms of environmental. If you're in a freezing condition outside in the elements of sub-zero, it's probably not the right place to do it. But in humidity and normal, because the blood can freeze. This is you asked me about the engineering problems that we have. Actually, the plastic for this strip was probably one of our biggest engineering problems, because what happens is, unlike Theranos, who I think they said that you can drop a blood and it can do lots of tests, when we drop a small molecule, like 40 microliters of blood, which actually it's a big specimen, but it can be done by Lancet and it's not painful. We need to be able to spread it out so that it can be read on the other side properly. And on this test, we've been able to do 2, which is total and HDL. We look to add triglycerides later, but we have triglycerides on a different strip. So that's one of the biggest problems of how we spread out the blood and put on the strip.
Sorry about that. So,
Yeah.
spirited conversation at the tables a little bit later.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're out of time.